So the first couple of years being a self-employed electrician were probably the hardest 2 years of my life. The lack of sleep, the lack of customers, and the constant fear over where my next job was coming from was almost too overwhelming. But fast forward a few years, and after graduating from the School of Hard Knocks, I can now provide my family with the life that I never thought possible. So let me take you back to how all this unfolded. I'd started my own electrical business after seeing the great life my bosses were living. And I thought to myself, why can't I do that? You know, I wanted to make my own decisions, control my own destiny. All the while, my friends were off getting jobs with corporate companies with career progression, but that wasn't for me. My ambitions was to become an entrepreneur, work hard for a few years and do things others weren't willing to do to live the life others can only dream of. Like working hard for a few days a week, having loads of free time and have a nice healthy income. But it wasn't long before reality hit and I realised this wasn't what I signed up for. Running my own business was the biggest slog in the world. I'd got my own van, it was my pride and joy. I'd opened up my bank account to receive all the money that I was going to receive from customers from doing all this work. But one thing I hadn't considered, where was I going to get my customers from? So I started looking on Google to see if I could get some advice on how other tradesmen had overcome this particular problem. The advice that I was getting back was to get business cards made, get some leaflets made, put some postcards up on supermarket notice boards. I mean, does that even exist anymore? You know, they advised me to cold call estate agents to try and get on their contractors list so maybe I'd get a job one day. I had an empty diary that consisted of the odd job from Mrs. Miggins, which quite frankly paid peanuts. My next thing was to naturally turn to friends and family. We've all got friends and family, right? They might have some electrical work that they needed doing. And if they didn't, surely they could pass my details on to their friends and family, and that would be a good start. In some respects, that was successful because I did end up getting work from friends and family, and I even secured some referrals, which did secure me some more work. But very quickly, I realised that my order book was never full. I never had work booked up in advance, and I was well and truly stuck in feast and famine mode. One minute I had loads of work coming in, and the next minute I was trying to figure out how to get my next customer. I couldn't sleep at night, not knowing where my next job was going to come from, or even how I was going to pay my bills. So any hint of a job coming through, I would literally snatch it out of the customer's hands and even price it lower, just so that I could get the job. I was getting up at 5 AM and not getting home until 9 PM. And even then I still had to sit down and generate invoices and quotations and try and get back to people to try and generate more work for the following few days. All the while still not making the money that I'd set out to achieve. It was a constant worry about how I was going to pay my personal bills, let alone my supplier bills, to keep this thing going. My day had become a relentless struggle to earn less than what I was earning when working for someone else. Not to mention the stress and the responsibility that I'd taken on my shoulders. Eventually the struggle had to end, and it did, but not by my choice. Unfortunately, I hadn't accounted for the taxes that I needed to pay, and the taxman came down on me like a ton of bricks. And in some ways, I'm glad he did, because if he hadn't, I might still have been struggling to this day. And it was at that point that I'd lost everything. I'd lost everything that I'd worked so hard for, and I had no choice at that point than to put myself into bankruptcy. I'd lost my house, I'd lost my relationship, and I was at the lowest point that I'd ever been in my life. However, being the eternal optimist, I knew I had to get back on the horse and understand ultimately where I'd gone wrong. So for that, I needed to humble myself and ask someone for help and coaching. So I pulled out my credit card and signed up to a coaching and mentoring program. Working with a coach and mentor was one of the single best things I've ever done. It changed everything for me. I finally started to realise that being a good electrician just wasn't good enough. I needed to be good at things I hadn't even heard of, let alone understood. It wasn't until I was back on my feet and making money the right way, with the knowledge that I'd gained, that it actually dawned on me how clueless I really was when I started out in business. Coaching showed me how to structure a company and the importance of things I hadn't considered in the past. Things like finance and systemization. And it wasn't until I was back on my feet and making a profit the right way that I realized how many mistakes that I'd actually been making in the beginning. Long story short, I now run a business that serves me. I never work past 5:30. I spend more time with my friends and family. It's been amazing. I really did learn the hard way, but now I can sit back and enjoy the life that I'd originally set out to achieve. I'm not saying that to brag or boast. I just want you to understand that I've lived the hell and come out the other side with my head held high. And with that, I've been able to go forward and grow a business to 6 figures a month with less stress, more enjoyment, my freedom and my lifestyle still intact. All because of business systems, automation, and a good understanding of business finance. I would love to share with you the process that I come up with that has not only helped me in my business, but also helped other tradesmen and trade business owners create the life and business they've always wanted. So if this is of interest to you and you want to follow the steps that I took in my business, I've got a free online training that you can check out. Click on the link or the button somewhere around this video and I'll see you on the training.